So this, friends, is part 61 in our continued study.
Chapter 17.
Oh, sorry, we'll start again. Yeah, we'll take that part, we'll be straight down to
On chapter 17.
Yeah, 17, of course, yes.
Lovely. We're really learning so much in this chapter.
We are, yes. Yeah. Oh, in this chapter, yes, there's a huge amount in this chapter. So, right, so let's start again.
3, 2, 1. It's on.
This then, my dear friends, is part 61 in our continued study of chapter 17. Now, Mrs. Joe Bloggs goes to heaven. I suppose you could say now we're into slightly the lighter side of things. Let us assume for a minute that she does. She goes off up to heaven when she dies, and she is looking down on us from there. Whether it is her soul, her spirit, or her real self that is said to have gone to heaven. All who believe in going to heaven would say that Mrs. Joe Bloggs can think, see, hear and speak. But all these functions depend completely on the brain. When the brain ceases, these functions cease. It is impossible for any part of the person to be alive after the brain dies. Birth gives life and death takes it away. If you pass a graveyard, you can be certain of one thing: all that remain of those dead are in that graveyard and nowhere else. What did the early church believe about death? So it's one thing to say what the Bible says, but we'll say the generation of the 12 apostles, and then when they had all themselves gone to the grave, what did the succeeding generation of Christians believe? Let's see. When the apostles passed away after seeing, what did the church which came after them believe about death? Again we turn to Edward Gibbon in his book Decline and Fall of the Roman Empire. It deals with the subject of Christianity in the 15th and 16th chapters. These two chapters were brought out as a separate book in 1930 with the title Gibbon on Christianity. It was published by Watt and Company, 5 Johnson's Court, Fleet Street, London. So Edward Gibbon wrote on pages 22 and 23, the ancient and popular doctrine of the millennium was intimately connected with the second coming of Christ. As the works of the creation had been finished in 6 days, their duration in their present state, according to a tradition which was attributed to the prophet Elijah, was fixed to 6,000 years. It was inferred that this long period of labour and contention would be succeeded by a joyful Sabbath of 1,000 years, and that Christ, with the triumphant band of the saints and the elect who had escaped death or who had been miraculously revived, would reign upon earth till the time appointed for the last and general resurrection. The assurance of such a millennium was carefully inculcated by a succession of fathers, from Justin Martyr and Irenaeus, who conversed with the immediate disciples of the apostles, down to Lactantius, who was a teacher to the son of Constantine. Though it may not have been universally received, it appears to have been the reigning sentiment of Orthodox believers. It seems so well adapted to the desires of mankind that it must have contributed to a very considerable degree to the progress of the Christian faith. Now, points to note, millennium, it is a Latin word and it means 1,000 years. It describes Christ's kingdom. The ordinary people will die during the 1,000 years, though they will live much longer than now. All who die during the millennium will be raised at the end of it. That will be the second resurrection. A joyful Sabbath of 1,000 years, writes Edward Gibbon. The early church firmly believed in this. It describes Christ's millennial reign, of course, of 1,000 years. Like I said, the word millennium, mille annum, actually in Latin, means 1,000 years. His 1,000-year reign on earth. The saints and the elect who had escaped death or who had been miraculously revived would reign with Christ. The elect who had escaped death. These are the group that we've been speaking about. The select band of true Christians who will be alive at the second coming. They will never die, so they will escape death. Those who had been miraculously revived, all the dead, will be revived at the resurrection. They would reign with Christ till the time appointed for the last and general resurrection. This is the second resurrection at the end of the 1,000 years. So I think now we've actually covered much of this already, because we've described how Tiernanog, like I said, we've already seen it. It refers to my fellow countrymen, and how that it will be eternal youth. The word Tiernanog actually means land of youth in Irish mythology, and that's exactly what the kingdom will be, because the saints will, of course, have eternal youth. It's often speculated that they may be about the age of 33, which was the age of Christ, but whatever age they will be, they will have eternal youth. There was a poem about fallen soldiers that was written by Lawrence Bunyan and published in September 1914, and here are 2 lines of that poem. They shall not grow old as we who are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. And this will apply totally to all the worthy ones and the kingdom. As we that are left grow old, that will apply to the ordinary people, but only to them. Every saint in the kingdom will have eternal youth and, of course, eternal beauty as well. Now, here again we have come back to the false women, because Jesus is angry with the Catholic Church and the Protestant churches. He calls them false women. He calls the Catholic Church the famous prostitute, and calls it the mother of prostitutes, and he calls the Protestant churches the prostitute daughters. Why is Jesus so angry with these churches? The thing is that he's coming out of his own mouth in words that are unmistakable, that he's clearly very, very angry with them. Let's see. These churches, he's angry with them mainly because of their false teaching. Their worst false teaching is the immortality of the soul. This doctrine says that a person can never die, since everyone has an immortal soul which can never die. It would mean that everyone automatically had eternal life. They would all have life forevermore. But this is exactly what Jesus died to achieve. It was he who brought immortality into the world. As the Apostle Paul says, Jesus has destroyed death and has brought life and immortality to light through the gospel. He destroyed death in himself by conquering it at his resurrection. He achieved immortality. He offers this wonderful prize to all true Christians, and indeed, of course, to all in the Old Testament as well, and he will give it to them at the second coming. To win immortality, Jesus suffered one of the cruelest deaths of all time. In addition to normal agony of the crucifixion, Jesus had the extra pains of the crowning with thorns, which was not part of normal crucifixion, which must have been excruciating. Through their doctrine of the immortality of the soul, the churches might as well be saying to Jesus, Jesus, mate, we are sorry for your troubles in going through all that suffering to win immortality. We know you meant well, mate, but there was no need for it, since we all have immortality anyway. It is a blatant insult to Jesus and to his mission. The soul is supposed to be judged and rewarded at the moment of death, What then would be the point of the resurrection? And there's such huge emphasis placed on the resurrection in the Bible and judgment, which will certainly take place at the second coming. They would be utterly meaningless. Let's turn now to the land of the cedar tree for something really pleasant, the land of Lebanon. Lovely. If you go around London, if you ever see restaurants which are Lebanese, you often see a cedar tree. Because it's actually on the national flag of Lebanon, so we'll turn now to that country. Come with me from Lebanon, my bride, the judgment seat of Christ in Sinai. This is the blessing wherewith Moses, the man of God, blessed the children of Israel before his death. He said, the Lord came from Sinai and rose up from Seir unto them. He shined forth from Mount Paran, and he came with 10,000 of his saints. That was in the book of Deuteronomy from the King James Bible. The Catholic Knox says, see where the Lord comes forth from Sinai, where he dawns on us from Mount Paran. Thousands of his holy ones were about him. This takes us to Sinai and the desert where Mount Paran was probably located. The Lord comes with thousands of his holy ones. This could well describe Jesus and the worthy ones just after the judgment. The judgment seat may well be in the Sinai desert, in the area where Moses received the law from God. The prophet Habakkuk had a similar vision. He saw God came from Teman and the Holy One from Mount Paran. That's in the prophet Habakkuk, of course, who is one of the great prophets, admittedly very short, from the Jewish Korean Bible. Jesus will come as the personal representative of God himself. Now Lebanon. Jesus went to Lebanon during his first coming. Jesus departed to the region of Tyre and Sidon. A woman of Canaan came from that region and cried out to him, saying, have mercy on me, O Lord, Son of David. My daughter is severely demon-possessed. Jesus answered and said to her, O woman, great is your faith. Let it be done as you desire. Her daughter was healed from that very hour. That's the Gospel of Matthew. New King James Bible. Tyre and Sidon were towns in Lebanon. Although the woman was a foreigner and not Jewish, she addressed Jesus respectfully as Son of David. The Song of Songs. This is a love song which was written by King Solomon, who was a son of King David. It opens with the words, the Song of Songs, which is Solomon's. It is a love song describing the love between Jesus and his bride. And the bride of Christ will include every single good person who ever lived, from Adam and Eve up to the second coming, who will be all symbolically as one person, as the bride of Christ. And Jesus will take his bride on a journey from Sinai up to Lebanon. He will take them to Mount Hermon, which covers parts of the three countries, Lebanon, Israel and Syria. It is 2,814 meters high, that is 9,232 feet. It is one of the highest mountains in the region. It is the highest in the three neighbouring countries of Lebanon, Israel and Jordan. It is snow covered for some of the year, and it is called Jebel al-Sheikh in Arabic. It is part of the anti-Lebanon range of mountains, which is 93 miles long. Jesus will take his bride to the part of Mount Hermon, which is in Lebanon. When they arrive there, Jesus will make an announcement to the whole assembly. He will say, come with me from Lebanon, my bride, with me from Lebanon. Look from the top of MAH00082, from the top of Shinar and Hermon, from the Song of Solomon. That is from the Jewish Korean Bible. And here is what the Jewish Tanakh Bible says. From Lebanon, come with me, from Lebanon, my bride. with me trip down from Amana's peak of Sinner and Hermon. The King James Version says, come with me from Lebanon, my spouse, with me from Lebanon. Look from the top of Amana, from the top of Shinar and Hermon. Amana, Shinar and Hermon are all peaks within the anti-Lebanon range. Jesus will invite his distinguished guests to soak in the beauties of Lebanon. Will the visit take place when Mount Hermon is snow-covered? Very likely it will. There is something especially beautiful about a snow-covered mountain, especially of course in the parched lands of the Middle East. Lebanon is the land of the cedar tree.
And we'll stop there.
Oh, okay.